People in Minnesota were asked to stay away from work, school, and stores today in protest of ICE enforcement across the state. A group of Gustavus students organized their own ICE Out protest today. This afternoon, hundreds of community members braved the cold alongside them in the heart of St. Peter. Aaron Stuvey reports.
And we knew that there wasn't an indivisible protest planned for today because of the cold, but we felt like we really still wanted to make a difference.
What began as a few students from Gustavus Adolphus College braving the cold quickly grew into a demonstration involving hundreds of community members.
So I think it's really cool that people heard our message and felt so strong that they wanted to come, that they were able to come out in such short notice.
The demonstration comes on a day that is seeing similar movements around the state. Many businesses, like the Wooden Spoon and Mom and Pops, have chosen to close throughout the day out of solidarity with the message. Others, like Tandem Bagels and Paddlefish Brewing, are staying open, but are donating a portion of their revenue to local causes like the YWCA or the St. Peter Mexicana Market. Back at the protest, organizers hope that the conversation doesn't end here, that people continue to be active in their communities and their local politics.
Vote. Remember, 2026 midterms are coming up, and you need to be in the know about what is happening due to the political situation in our country right now and how it's affecting people.
In St. Peter, Aaron Stuvey, KUIC News Now.